Hi, welcome to our show about Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. My name is Brenda Ellis. I'm originally from New Jersey, but my parents are from the South. My mom is from Florida and my dad is from South Carolina. They both left in 1956 with the promise of a better life, better education for their children, and better job opportunities. I would often hear the grown-ups say that the South is not the place to be. They would say something like, "I'm glad I left there," or "I ain't lost nothing in Mississippi or Alabama."
Wait a minute, Brenda, did you say Mississippi?
Yes.
Well, wasn't Fannie Lou Hamer a Mississippi sharecropper who, in 1964, was on her way to the Democratic National Convention in New Jersey, your home state? Well, but maybe you were not even born then.
Yes, I was. My earliest memory of the Civil Rights Movement is when I was a little girl and our choir director taught us a beautiful song. And it was sad, but every time I sang it, I would see some of the members in the congregation, they would begin to tear up, and some of them would start to cry. And I didn't understand why they were crying. But through the eyes of a child, I thought I had the ability to make people cry when I sang. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. No, I didn't understand why they cried, but I would soon learn later as I grew up that racism was a bitter pill to swallow, and I was still singing that song. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
Wow. Oh, I'm Barbara Bates Smith, and I'm so proud that we could put this virtual show together. Not so proud, Brenda, that in 1964, I was so firmly ensconced in my own white privilege, settling my little family into a house in Lakeland, Florida, not in Alabama, my home state. No, not Alabama with its shameful, the bombing of the Birmingham church, Sheriff Bull Connor and his bulldogs, not to mention Governor George Wallace blocking the university door. No, I did not return to fight the good fight, and now I apologize for that. Now, jumping to 2020, I meet Brenda, Ellis, and
Yes.
we pretty much hit it off, right?
Right away.
We're both big fans of
Reverend William Barber. Yes.
You were working with that.
And him in the Poor People's Campaign at the time.
And I went to jail with him in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've given me this T-shirt. Your T-shirt to wear as narrator for this show about this powerful Black heroine, Fannie Lou Hamer. And you're the one who told us about her. Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome. Fannie Lou Hamer, John Lewis, Martin Luther King, and Medgar Evers made the ultimate sacrifice so that we could vote and live free. We dedicate this show to all the freedom fighters, past and present. The fight continues, but we are on our way.
Okay, here we go. And this is what you need to know. It's 1964, and Fannie Lou Hamer has already been firing up the local schools and churches with assistance from SNCC. Now, that's the short name for the letters SNCC, standing for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And now, with their help, Mrs. Hamer is on her way to the Democratic Convention in Atlantic City, challenging the all-white Mississippi delegation to seat her new Black Freedom Democrats. You'll be hearing her own words from these events throughout this piece. Let's start first with the convention.
Mr. Chairman and the Credentials Committee, My name is Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. I live in Ruralville, Mississippi. It was in 1962 that 18 of us traveled 26 miles to the county courthouse in Indianola to register to become first-class citizens. We was met by police in Indianola. More policemen with guns than I had ever seen in my life, and we was only allowed to come in 2 at a time to take the literacy test. After we had taken the test and started back to Ruralville, we was held up by the city police and the state highway patrolman. We was carried back to Indianola, where our driver was charged with driving the bus the wrong color. This is the gospel truth.
For the literacy test, she is required to copy down word for word Section 16 from the Constitution with commas and periods and all, and then to interpret it. Well, none of her group gets passed for the literacy test that day, but still, when she gets back home to Ruralville, she has already been fired from her sharecropper job.
Boss said, "Well, Fannie Lou, you will just have to go back down and withdraw, or you will have to leave." "Mister," I say, "I didn't register for you. I said I was trying to register for myself." And he said, "We are not ready for that in Mississippi." He wasn't ready, but I've been ready a long time, with folks being murdered, lynched, and killed because we want to register and vote. Now is the time for us to stand up and be women and men. Besides, I was sick and tired of being called auntie. I don't have not one white niece or nephew. In fact, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I didn't want folks to say, "Honey, I'm behind you." I want them to say, "I'm with you, and we can go up this freedom road together." Well, I had to leave that same night because bullets was getting fired into the home where I was staying. They kicked me off the plantation, and they set me free. It was the best thing that could have happened, because now I could work for my people.
Her testimony is becoming so powerful that President Lyndon Johnson interrupts it to set up some kind of quick press conference. But the local radio station has been taping it all for replay as she continues.
Of course, some people have said, "Well, she doesn't talk too good." But with the type of education that we get here, years to come, and you won't talk good either. People say the Negroes, since the outside agitators come in, were satisfied. But I've been dissatisfied ever since I was 6 years old. I remember my mother having to work for a measly $1.25 a day. And to be truthful with you, I first wished I was white, because they was the only people that wasn't doing nothing but still had money and clothes. We was working year in and year out and wouldn't get to go to school but 4 months out of the year. Some white man would tell us, "I just don't believe in integration," but he been integrating at night for a long time. If he hadn't been, it wouldn't be as many light-skinned Negroes as it is in here. The 17th chapter of Acts and the 26th verses said, "Has made of one blood all people." So whether you're as black as a skillet or white as a sheet, we are all made from the same blood, and we are on our way.
Brenda, let's hold a minute. You know, it seems that I've always been so attracted to, well, all things African. And I figured, maybe I must have been African in a former life. But anyhow, when I finally got there and to the Olduvai Gorge,
Yes.
I saw the bones of the oldest living human being on this earth. And I realized we're all Africans.
Yes, we're all born of the same human family. No one has the right to say who's included or excluded. Though we have different eye colors and skin complexions and different hair, You know, we should be treated all the same. And we have to say that we're one people in this human family. And if we can do that, we can end racism.
Next, she tells of a 1963 overnight bus trip returning from a voter workshop in Charleston, South Carolina. There's a whole busload of activists, and it's getting dark and kind of scary. And as is her custom in a time like this, she sings to them to ease the tensions.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
In Winona, Mississippi, there's a bus stop, and some get off to visit the restroom or the restaurant.
The chief of police and the state highway patrolman ordered us all to come out. And I said, this is Mississippi for you. And then we was told, you are all under arrest. And when the officer began to open his car door and I started to get in, he kicked me. And I was carried to the county jail and placed into a cell. And I began to hear licks and screams and hear somebody say, can't you say yes, sir, nigger? And I could hear our workshop leader's voice say, yes, I can say yes, sir. Well, say it. And she said, I don't know you well enough. And I would hear when she would hit the floor again. And I heard her when she began to pray. And she asked God to have mercy on those people because they didn't know what they was doing.
Then a group of officers come to Fannie Lou's cell.
The patrolman said, where are you from? And I said, Ruleville, Mississippi. And he said, well, we's going to make you wish you were dead.
Brenda, wait just a minute. Do you remember when I was putting this together and I said this part just might be too much for an audience to take?
Yes.
And you said...
I said, no way. We have to tell it, the story the way it was. And we have to tell about how the brutal way that violence was used against Black people to suppress them and make sure that they didn't get out and vote.
Wow.
I was taken out of that cell into another cell where they had 2 Negro prisoners. And the state highway patrolman ordered the first Negro to take the blackjack. And he ordered me to lay on a bunk bed on my face. And the first Negro began to beat me until he was exhausted. I was holding my hands behind me at the time on my left side because I suffered from polio when I was 6 years old. Then the state highway patrolman ordered the second Negro to take the blackjack. And he began to beat, and I began to work my feet. And the state highway patrolman ordered the first Negro to sit on my feet. And I began to scream. And one white man got up and began to beat me in my head and tell me to hush. Another white man, my dress began to work up high. And he walked over and pulled my dress. I pulled my dress down and he pulled my dress back up. And after a while, I must have passed out. And when I did raise my head up, the patrolman said, get up from there, fatso. But I couldn't get up. But I kept trying. And you know God is always able. And after a while, I did get up. And I went back to my cell. I was in jail when Megan Evers was murdered.
She has also suffered a lifetime kidney injury and a blood clot in her left eye. At the trial, she sees the same patrolman sitting there on the jury. She is charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest.
And I want to say tonight that America is not the land of the free and the home of the brave. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And without them considering us as human beings, one day America will crumble. Because God is not pleased with all these killings for no reason at all. God is not pleased with the Negro children in the state of Mississippi suffering from malnutrition. And God is not pleased that we have to go raggedy each day. God is not pleased that we have to go to the field and work for 10 to 11 hours for $3 lousy. The 5th chapter of Matthew is said, "Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted." We have mourned a long time in Mississippi, but we're on our way now. We're on our way and we won't turn around. And I believe tonight that one day in the state of Mississippi, if I have to die for this, we shall overcome. And one day, the little Negro boys and the little Negro girls will not have to be afraid to walk down the street because of so much hate that a policeman will want to jump on a kid.
Brenda, another stop. What about the police situation today?
We're still afraid when we see police officers approaching us. We don't know whether we're going to survive that encounter. The Statue of Liberty reads, "Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." We still can't breathe free today, and we still are yearning to live free.
You're so right. And for that, we need new policy, new laws. And for that, we have to vote.
If the Freedom Democratic Party is not seated now, then I question America. Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, where we have to sleep with our telephones off the hooks because our lives are being threatened daily, because we want to live as decent human beings in America?
Her testimony at the convention has won her 2 black delegates, not nearly sufficient. But more importantly, it has empowered her and others to say that silence is no longer an option.
We have prayed and hoped to God to bring about a change. And now the time has come for people to stand up. And there's something real peculiar, but still it's great. There used to be a time when you would hit a Negro, a white man would hit a Negro, and the others will go and hide. But it's a new day now. When you hit a Negro, you're likely to see 1,000 there because God care. God care and we care. Thank you.
I'm gonna let it shine.